Okay, so what you probably don't know is that this is now my third take to get today's video going. I definitely am more of a morning person, and it's now about 3 in the afternoon. So I'm going to start over. What I'm starting with is to show you that I have collected household props that you could probably find around your house. Decorative pillows, my bed pillow, the strap from a bathrobe, and some beach towels that I have rolled up into bolsters. So that's kind of what I wanted you to see initially, is that you can really improvise for props at home. I even have, my desk chair here that will probably bring in. So if you want to take a moment before you actually start this practice to go and grab some blocks, bolsters, if you have them, and if you don't have them, then by all means improvise. I'll be interested, maybe you can on Facebook share with me your propping innovations, your proptions, as we have coined the pose at the studio. So let me know what your proptions are. Sad to say, yeah, today we had to make the hard call to close the studio for a time, and it really does kind of break my heart, because you all know how much I love to be there and love to be with you in person. So this is the next best thing for a while, so bear with me. Again, I'm working on the technology and just trying to make this efficient but also fun. So here we are today. I'm going to do a yin class. I've got this stuff all laid out just like I do at the studio. We're going to do the kidney and urinary bladder meridians, which are the inner leg and back of the leg, back body. It's the winter element in the winter season, the water element. It's the most yin of the yin classes, of the yin sequences, in that it is really based in the idea of calming fear, grounding. And so I felt like that was the most appropriate place for us to start with our yin practices at this point, is a place of grounding, of really getting back in our bodies. Of course, the beautiful stretching physically, but also the energetics of yin is profound. So we'll start our practice today just getting a little acupressure point, which is called kidney 1. It's at the base of the foot, bottom of the foot, kind of if you curled your foot up, there's like a little divot right at the base here of the big toe, just sort of in from the mound of the big toe at the bottom. And you get your thumb on that on each side. And you're going to basically just give a little acupressure, maybe even a little rolling of the thumb. You might find a little tenderness there. This is a great point for grounding. Acupuncturists will sometimes needle this, but not often. More often it's an acupressure point. And we'll just sit with this while we sit in our first yin pose, which I've taken already, which is butterfly. So seated butterfly, if you have that, shape where you roll back on the sit bones, you can always take one of those handy dandy pillows, place it underneath your sit bones, let the legs fall open again and again. There's another place propping, maybe underneath the knees, to help keep the legs lifted slightly. And then you know what the deal is with yin. We're going to be basically taking a shape. That's the first part. Find a comfortable edge. Right? And the comfortable edge in yin should be about 20% off of your max. So only 80% of your stretch. Once you have settled into the posture with propping, this one minimal probably. The second part is that you resolve to be still, because yin is a stillness practice. The third part is that we remain for a time. And so each one of these may be anything from 2 to 6 minutes, depending. And as we're in the postures, I'll be reading a little bit to you about the water element, just like in class, kind of giving you some pieces of the puzzle. All right, so once you've got this shape, you could stay upright with the butterfly, or you could lean into it slightly. It's really up to you. Make sure your back of your neck is long. You're keeping some relaxation in the shoulders. Once we take a yin pose, the work then is to just find the stillness, right? Come into your breath. A great breath is just a really subtle inhale, exhale through the nose with the mouth sealed. Maybe even trying to get an even turning or samvriti. Inhaling count of 4, exhaling count of 4. Or whatever your natural inhalation is, match the exhale to that. You'll let the body drop in and let the bones support the pose, right? So once you're in, try to soften in, yield in, and then just come into your breath. Nice, calm, relaxing breath. Holding into those acupressure points. And we'll only be here for about another 30 seconds or so for this first shape. All right, let's start to release the acupressure. Use your hands to help the knees together, and then just extend, click, click, extend your legs out. Go ahead and just give it a little bouncing of the knees, maybe a little bit of tapping on the outside, up on the inside. Get those meridians along the legs. Great, and this is a second posture we're going to do, which is going to go to that inner line, which is the kidney meridian. So I'm going to take it to a wide leg. I'm going to go sideways so you can kind of see the orientation sideways. Again, if your sit bones are back like this, then you really want to use something under those sit bones, help to lift them up. Now, if you're one of the people that's super flexible, you may not need any propping. You might just be able to go in and go, okay, I'm in, I'm happy. You may be somebody that might be happy to bring that chair in, your desk chair, and bring it in. It's a nice option to come in if you don't have the flexibility to go in quite so deep, or today's just not a deep in day for you. So you can pick, which propping is best for you. You'll settle in either with a chair, bolster, or maybe nothing at all. And we'll settle into the wide leg fold. This hold is going to be for about 4 minutes, which is going to give me an opportunity to give some reading to you about this water element. So settle in, wide leg fold. Winter is the season associated with the water element. The life force of nature goes underground in the winter, resting and replenishing its reserves, so that it can shoot forth with all the vitality that the spring growth requires. Trees and plants go dormant, but they do not die. Ice forms over ponds and rivers, but the water below the frozen surface does not stop circulating. The fish do not stop swimming and breathing. There is movement in the watery depths, even though it does not show on the surface. Nature is stripped of its ornament, revealing its essence and the seeds of potentiality within it. It's time to journey inward, to get back in touch with who we are at our innermost being. When the energy and water element is balanced, it flows freely. We have the capacity to circumvent obstacles and adapt to our constantly changing environment. Think of the river weaving and churning around the rocks in its bed, abiding by the boundaries provided by its banks. It is persistent and enduring. That is the flow we seek for ourselves. Healthy water provides us with the inner wisdom, courage, and will. It gives us the ability to balance caution with courage. We can heed our gut reactions that check us to be cautious. Our fear is kept in balance. The inner calmness of water can be tapped if we go deep within ourselves and plumb the mysteries we find there. Water also has restorative powers. It comprises our reserves, but we can only draw on those stores if we have taken time to replenish them. Okay, start to release the pose, walk it back, help the knees in. And we'll just take a moment from that wide leg in a recovery with just bringing the legs out in front of us. Give a little massaging, release it out. So as that little passage just reminded us, we balance our fear with courage, with wisdom. And so, just in this time of uncertainty, I think it's even more imperative that we stay calm, we stay balanced, we stay clear, we make our best decisions, our best judgments from a place of calm abiding. So moving forward in our practice, the next thing we're going to do is basically just take your feet, plant them about a little wider than your hips, as though you were going to sit just like this. And we're going to just windshield wiper a few times side to side. Let those knees move, move. Until one of these times we're just going to move them over to the side. Let's make them windshield wiper to the left. And this is what I call 4-on-4 or deers, right? Deer pose, where we have the two legs bent. And the torso is still going to be upright initially. So we're going to just walk it around towards the left. The right hand finds the left knee, the left hand comes behind. And we'll just use minimal upper body effort to come into a gentle twist here. Coming around, this twist will be just a minute on each side. So I've got this iPad here for timer to help us all stay even when we do double-sided. So I like to kind of, once I'm in, play with where the pelvis is, like sinking back or drawing forward. Feel where feels best for you. And then we'll let the head and neck move a little bit here. A little bit of movement within this yin pose. And find a nice stretch. And finally just relax in. Come back to your breath. Even turning, soft shoulders. And settle into the stillness part. Letting the body settle in, we start to relax the muscles so we can really start to access the connective tissue. Okay, that's our minute on this side. We'll just counter twist. Come back to center, bring those feet wide, and we'll windshield wiper a few times, and it'll windshield wiper us right over to the right side, where we will, again, settle in. The first part of your yin pose is just finding the shape at an appropriate edge. I'm going to twist in left to the right. I have no idea what I just did to my clocks. You know what my answer is, turn them off, turn them back on. Ah, they're still there. Stopwatch. Okay, here we go. We're gonna come into the twist now for a minute this side. A little bit of comic relief. Take some deep breaths. Settle into your subtle breath, even turning. If your mind starts to wander, just bring it to the sensation. As we really drop into the sensation in our bodies, the mind will follow. It can be an anchor point for our wandering mind. So back to sensation, back to breath. Just about another 15 seconds here. And we'll counter twist, bring it around the other way, and then right back in. Great. Transitioning to a Sphinx pose here. So a belly shape. Settling in. I'll move some of these props out of the way and let you do the same. You'll come onto your belly. Right here, because I know you can see now the Sphinx elbows right underneath the shoulders. I look for this 90-degree line. The legs can be nice and relaxed at the back here. We want to just let the upper arm bones support us. In a power class, I would really actively press away, drag back. But in in a yin class, I settle everything down. If you feel like this is a little too intense in the low back, just a light core engagement, or even you could take a rolled up towel or blanket and bring it in just to support right underneath the pelvis. That can also help to alleviate some of the back bending here that could cause discomfort. And then for this posture, we're actually going to settle in for about 3 minutes. So get yourself set for your Sphinx pose. And you'll really want to work the breath on this one. So just getting a nice even turning breath. The shoulders are soft, the neck is neutral. Some people like to bring something to support the head here. I just make sure that the back of the neck is long. And then I'll go ahead and read the rest of this passage to you. While water can be a strong calming force, it can also be chaotic and destructive. Flooding and heavy rains can cause extreme damage, as we have seen in recent years. Alternatively, when it stops flowing, we have drought and stagnation. When our resources have been depleted, we may lack the will to persevere, which stifles our ambition and desire. Imbalances in our water element can drown us in fear and a sense of hopelessness, creating paranoia or paralysis. We may simply stop moving because we are frozen by our fears. The resulting excessive need to feel safe and control our boundaries may lead us to see the world only the worst case scenarios, not allowing us to take a leap of faith. Or an imbalance may make us reckless, engaging in death-defying behaviors that deny our fears. Water is the source of all life. It provides us with the strength and force to carry out our lives. When we push too hard for too long, we drain our resources, and we lose the ability to flow and adapt. We react by trying to control the flood instead of going with the flow. But, as Lao Tzu pointed out, soft is strong, and only the flexible overcome the adamant. We must take time to nurture and replenish our stores so that we will have the ability to bring our creations to life. So this time of being homebound ultimately almost forces us into this place of quietude. So I guess that it's up to us to all just make the most of it, to just be home and do some of this nurturing, grounding, softening in, letting go, non-attachment, our willingness to be with whatever is without clinging or aversion. Just about another 30 seconds here. I'm going to let you have some quiet in the next couple seconds here. All right, we're going to inhale to prepare. And as you exhale, let the elbows slide out. Stack your hands one on top of the other. Place your forehead on your hands. Turn your toes out, your heels in, so that you become a crocodile shape. You might even let the hips shift a little side to side. And just settle into your breath. All right, let's bring our hands under our shoulders. Press with some core help. Transition to tabletop, hands and knees. Once you're in your hands and knees, just little baby, kittens and calves, remember? We're going smaller. And then slowly let them get a little bigger. As we exhale, tuck the tail, round the spine, chin to chest, maybe move the neck a little side to side. And as you inhale, we'll let the belly drop the heart slide forward.
Several more, just letting it go through your range of motion slowly.
I'm learning to go slowly.
It's been a process.
And this will set us right up for a child's pose. So your knees can slide out a little bit wider. Your toes will touch, your hips will sink back. This is a place where you could bring in one of your handy dandy home props, or if you have bolster at home. I like it. I like to just have something underneath me to snuggle into, letting the belly rest down. I think I have another one of these here. Actually, I think I'll use this along with my bed pillow. And just slide into it. You can let your head rest to one side. You can let your forehead rest down. I will give you a halfway mark for your start time. Let's see, now we want a stopwatch. Okay, there it is. Stop, reset. Here we go. We're going to stay in this child's pose for about 3 minutes as well. Letting your head rest to one side. I'll give you the cue when it's at a halfway mark, which would be at 1.5 minutes. Settling to your breath. Let your body soften in. If you find that you need a little bit of propping, for some of us, the knees don't love child's pose because of the compression. You could always take one of those pillows. This is a great place for me to give options for those of you that are having trouble getting in. That pillow could come between the calf and the hip. And all options too is that you could always just flip this pose onto its back and just take a child's pose on its back, which is simply a nice little wide knee. So any of those options to change the propping. Hips a little higher, something behind the hips, something below the belly. Giving a nice release to the low back, the hips, some compression. So this might be a good time to tell you how the yin works. It's basically either compressing, stretching, or torsioning the tissues of the meridian lines. It's giving a nice little bit of energy movement through the connective tissue. The fascia is the word of the day. And fascia is basically connecting everything within the body. It bags the muscles, the tendons, ligaments, the bones, and it is the tissue which we do impact. If you got your head to one side, turn it to the other, please. So fascia can be. I'd like you to think of it as maybe if you have. Let's use the orange. If you have an orange and you slice it, you will see that each of the little pods of juice is surrounded by kind of a membrane, and then those are also divided into segments, and then the outside is also surrounded by the covering, right? So we've got this different thicknesses of fascia example in an orange, and it's very similar with the body. There's places like the iliotibial band from the ilium to the tibia along the side. That's a really big thick band of fascia. The lumbosacral fascia, very thick. Then you have the fascia, which is a little bit thinner, which is just completely around all of the cells, the extracellular matrix. And within that watery kind of substance, there's runs currents. And so it is believed that basically when we are working through the energy lines in traditional Chinese medicine, it's really through the fascia that's happening. That's the short description. So just about another 20 seconds here. Take a couple breaths. And we'll let the hands slide in underneath our shoulders, and we'll press out carefully using slow transitions. Let those legs come out from under. As a rebound, we'll just again let the legs just sit and bounce a little bit. Give them a little massaging out. And from here on out, we're going to be on our backs for the balance of this yin class. I would still want you to have like some props available. So having maybe a thick towel. I used one of my pool towels rolled up into a bolster type of shape that we'll be using towards the end. Right now, what I'd like you to do is find if you found some sort of a belt or strap that you can use. And we're going to basically lie on our backs and we're going to do a series of strap stretches. So coming in, the first place we'll go is to get the right leg in. We'll place the strap around the foot. I like it around the pad of the foot. I'm actually going to grab this one and give it a little support under my neck. Especially if your chin is above your forehead, you want to give some support to keep the back of the neck supported and long. We'll take the strap along around the pad of the foot so that we can also be stretching the plantar fascia and the calf. When you are doing these strap stretches, you don't want to be all crunched up. Let the shoulders drop down, let the elbows drop down to the floor. Let your upper body relax just a little bit. And then press the foot into the strap. So as much as you're giving this pull down, give a little push actively. The leg activates into the strap a bit. You'll notice that it changes the feeling of the stretch. And we'll just stay with this. It's okay if your leg is not fully extended. It's probably preferable not to lock out the knee. And then you can decide where's your range, right? Where is your range here? Just be in a comfortable 80%. And we'll be here for about a minute. Allow the shoulders to soften, the jaw to soften, your eyes might even close. Just be with the sensation. The idea here is that we find a comfortable edge. There's not any striving. We're yielding rather than striving. So we're going to just make a transition now where you'll see my foot going from the foot facing the ceiling. The foot's going to turn. I've got my right leg in, so the foot's turning to the left, coming into a knife edge on that strap. And then I'm going to cross it over just a little bit toward the left, and then I'm going to bring it back. And I'm just going to do that a couple times, really slow. Let it pause. Find a nice stretch along the outside line of the leg. Maybe bring it back to center. And then this time we'll go in maybe a little further, so you just find that edge where you're going to get a good stretch down the outside edge of the leg. And it's not necessarily closer to the ground. There's just a place where you're going to feel, okay, I've got a nice stretch line going. You get there, and then again, it's that, just sit with it, breathe. Does feel a little bit like we've been in a kind of twilight zone time of uncertainty. I saw somebody say that this year's being written by Stephen King, and it did make me smile. I think we all just really have to practice our yoga now and trust the unfolding. Keep calm, keep grounded, keep with our practices. All right, that's our minute. So bend the knee to bring it back to center. Get it neutral into the strap again. And keep your left hand on your left hip now, because as we open up to the right, we don't want to let that left hip roll off. So the same thing, we'll let it go open and we'll close. I like to do a few, like a little bit in, a little bit in, a little bit in. And you can decide then as you go in, find your depth. Maybe over, but also towards the shoulder line. Some people like to take the strap behind the head, especially if they're particularly flexible. You know, we have all levels of flexibility. So
find your depth, and we will start our minute timer here to come in to the inner thigh line, which again we talked about as being the kidney meridians. And the kidneys, of course, valuable for cleansing the blood, taking toxins out. Right? So we have to think about just on the energetic level, the physical level, the benefits of this practice, but mostly right now for me, yin is about just finding some quiet stillness. So I'll do my best here. All right, let's start to soften that right knee, bring it back into center. We'll take the strap off the leg and hug the knee into the chest, all 10 fingers around the shin. Get some nice pull in so that we get some compression onto that hip. Take some breath into that hip now, so as you breathe in, I like a light ujjayi breath, inhaling through the nose, little constriction at the back of the throat. You can see my belly rise up, press into the thigh, draw in a couple of those breaths. And we'll take it to a twist. So the left hand now will guide the right knee across the center. We'll let that knee come across to a comfortable place, right? And that might be another place where you could drag in a prop, drop the knee, right shoulder stays down. We want to be able to get that stretch from the shoulder line. It's the spiral line in the lines, the anatomy train lines. That's the word I was thinking of. So the spiral line from opposite shoulder down into the opposite leg and hip. Several breaths. All right, let's release that twist out. Come back to center. Bring your feet into the mat and do this little lift and lower. Let the hips lift and lower in a little baby bridge to just reset. And then let both legs lengthen out. Just feel the feeling of the two legs. Take your left foot in, and we'll do the other side. Even it out. Spending about a minute in each position. Little flex on the foot, elbows down, even turning breath. Body is relaxing into the shape. We don't want to be in a place where the pose feels injurious. It should always feel just right. We want sensation, but that sensation should never read as pain. So it should just be a sense of, okay, I'm getting some movement of energy. I'm feeling some stretch. Tolerable sensation, because if we go beyond that, then we're no longer doing yoga. We're just increasing our suffering. And we really don't need that. Ever. Ever. Check your breath. It's a great way to know if you are in an appropriate edge. All right, there's your minute. Let's take that foot to the knife edge, which with the left foot means the foot's going to turn toward the right. We're going to cross the center line a little bit. Press the foot into your strap. You'll feel some intensity. It's not saying it's not going to be intense, but it shouldn't be painful. Inhale, come back. And exhale, go in again. Maybe 10% more. Inhale back. And then exhale this time. Find your depth, comfortable depth. Hold on to your strap. You might hold with the right hand now. Shoulders are soft, jaw is soft, upper body is relaxed. You might notice that one side is tighter than the other. Pretty common that we have imbalances. Yin's a great way to kind of flesh those out and maybe restore some balance to the body. Soften your knee, that's your minute there. We'll bring the foot back to center. Level the foot, level your strap, and we'll start to open it up to the left, keeping the right hip from rolling over, right? So keep that right side anchored down. You might even use your right hand to help that happen. We'll inhale center, and we'll exhale, bring it out, slowly finding the depth that is appropriate for you. Some of you may even be able to bypass the strap entirely and use a toe lock here. I can do the toe lock. I like the strap better just because it lets my upper body be more relaxed. Settle in. Nice steady breath. All right, when you're ready to exit, bend the knee a little bit, soften it, and come back to center. We'll release the strap. And again, that nice hug around the knee, all 10 fingers hugging around the shin. Feel a little bit of compression. Take some breath so that the belly rises into the thigh as the thigh is pressing into the belly. And we'll initiate the twist. Right hand grabs the left knee, draws it across. The left arm goes out, and we'll stay here for a couple nice deep breaths. All right, start to come out of your twist. The left leg comes back around, the feet walk in. We'll shift the hips here and just settle into a passive rest for a moment, letting the knees be bent, the upper leg bones drop in towards the pelvis, and just let the low back settle. Stay here for a moment. And then we'll bring those feet a little wider, and we'll just let the knees gently windshield wiper side to side a few times. And from here, we'll take a reclining pigeon pose. So bringing the right ankle onto the left knee, the left thigh will draw in towards you. You can hook around the shin or behind the calf. We'll let that roll in, and we'll just get maybe this is not going to be a long hold. I just want to take it to get another release in the hip. Just a little rocking side to side, or you can even make some circles with that left knee on the ceiling. You find your spot here, just give it a little sway, and then settle into stillness. It's not quite the same without the groans that you all do when we're in class, when I'm holding a hard pose. I'm just imagining them right now. All right, let's switch sides. Right foot down, left ankle onto the right thigh. We create that shape and then draw the right thigh toward. Either grab her on the shin, grab her on the thigh, flex the foot, protect the knee, and then you can find just the perfect spot with some circles, some movement. Usually I can find the sweet spot and then just settle in. Low load, long hold. Make sure that this top foot is just relaxing down. You're not like all tense, right? Let the top leg, the right leg soften. Take a couple ujjayi breaths deep into that left hip. And we'll release that leg down. Bring both legs to the earth. Just settle into passive rest for a moment. And at this point, I'm going to have you roll to your side and just help yourself up to set up for our final positions here. So the reason I was going to have us have a roll is that I like that as an option for underneath our knees for a little resting position. So it can come in right under the knees as such, right? To set up for our Shavasana. We got all the comforts of home, so let's use them. The roll under the knees and then a pillow under the head. This is one great option for you to be in as I read through a guided relaxation. Or another option is roll underneath the knees, or we could always do our legs up on a chair, which is another great option for creating a nice release in the low back. So coming in here, I try to get it set up so that the leg bone has, the height of the chair is about exactly the distance of the knee here. So I get a nice 90. It allows the upper leg bone to just drop down kind of with a little bit of tractioning into the pelvis. Palms can rest up. So either one of those options is your option for setting up for your relaxation. And I am going to basically read a guided imagery to you guys, which is one of my favorites. So once you are all settled in on your back, go ahead and let your eyes close. Take a deep, rich, full breath in here and a complete exhalation. As you begin awareness of your breath, start to notice what thoughts are going through your mind. What are you thinking about? Try not to get caught up in your thoughts. Just begin to notice them as they travel across your mind. Let them go as they pass and watch them come and go. Continue to breathe deeply. I will begin to describe settings. Allow your mind to jump immediately to those settings. Let your mind be free to travel, and do not become attached to any one setting or image. You are a traveler jumping from place to place in your mind. Now we will begin. An ocean, a deep blue ocean. A beach with white sand. A seagull flying over the sand. Pelicans chasing the current over the waves. The waves crashing on the beach. The white sand. The desert. Cactus in the desert. Blue sky. Blue cloudless sky. Birds singing. A walled garden. Lush green grass. Storm clouds. A cool breeze. The crack of thunder. The dark sky illuminated by lightning. A long dirt road stretching toward the horizon.
a grove of olive trees, a farmer, a woman pulling water from a well, children playing in the distance, a tall tree stretching up to the sky, blue sky, warm sun, mountains in the distance topped with snow, a farmhouse, a stable, horses enclosed in a corral, sunset, a flock of blackbirds in the sky, the hoot of an owl, the sound of crickets, an old front porch with a swing, a glass of cold lemonade, a warm chair next to the fireplace, a gray cat curled on a small rug, an old woman sipping tea, a rose garden in full bloom, a robin with a worm in its beak, a hammock, cool, dry concrete, a church with tall spires, white puffy clouds, white dove, burning candle, flickering flame, burning candle, burning candle. Take a long, slow, deep inhale and a long, slow, complete exhale. Begin to bring some movement into your fingertips and your toes. Let that ripple up through your arms and legs, and slowly in your own way, make your way to a comfortable seated position. So let's take a moment here and just let our palms rest down on our knees, shoulders over hips. We get a nice long spine anchored into the earth as our crown reaches for the heavens. We truly are the connection between heaven and earth. We are in a time of challenge, and that's when we most need our yoga. So thank you for joining me for this little mini practice of yin through our great gift of technology. The light in me truly does see and honor the light in each of you. I look forward to when we're doing this back in our sacred space at One Yoga, right in our little heaven on earth there in the Sunnyside Plaza. So see you there as soon as we can. Until then, I will make it my best effort to offer a class every day. Hands to hearts, from my heart and my home to you. Namaste.